Good morning, everybody. It's Suzette Speaks on your radio. Did you guys know this is my soft launch of my new show on Voice of the Caribbean, I Radio? You can catch me every Thursday and Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. live. It's a talk show, y'all. And this is behind the scenes. I'm not going to be watching you guys on YouTube, etc., but I will be introducing the show formally in April. So check us out. We're on 94.3 Miami. We're on 102.3 in Hollywood and North Miami, and in Fort Lauderdale, 102.1, as well as we are in Vero Beach and Orlando. So welcome if you're watching on YouTube. Welcome if you're watching on Facebook. Glad to have you here. Getting started in just a moment. And hopefully my guest comes here. He got a little turned around. Let me see this way. Yes, I bought it. F1.
Two-bedroom, two-bath, full suites, that's in four. Vacation Villas is our choice when we travel to Jamaica. Vacation Villas, Runaway Bay, your home away from home. To book your Easter, 687-557-2207. That's 687-557-2207. Heartofhomevacation.com. Thanks, Vacation Villas, Runaway Bay, for your support of this station.
How much time?
An accident.
How much time?
30 seconds.
30 seconds?
Accidental death and other injuries with transport services. We work for accident victims. We look out.
Come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in. We haven't started. 30 seconds. Take a seat. You'll have a microphone there. This is my friend Rick. Rick, how are you, the humble lion? So you won't hear me, just you'll hear me outside, out loud.
Thank you for your contribution to this radio station.
Women have been shaping human history since the dawn of civilization, but it's the month of March that was chosen to honor women throughout history. Women's History Month, it was born right here in the U.S. during the suffrage movement.
So pull it to your mouth. You gotta sip up, yep. Get comfortable. After this commercial, I'm just gonna do a welcome.
1987, Congress officially declared March as National Women's History Month. But more than 30 years later, the fight for gender equality continues.
Yes, indeed, as promised. Time now for us to join Suzette Speaks Live.
Hey.
Welcome.
Good to be here, my friend. How are you, humble line? You had me jamming all the way over here, driving, bopping. I said, hello, my friend. Hey, I was having a party in the car, y'all. How you feeling?
I'm blessed. Too blessed to be stressful, anointed to be disappointed.
Oh, I love it. Positive vibes. It's Thursday, y'all. Welcome, welcome. If you're watching online, if you're listening in your car, if you're still at work, if you're on your lunch break, I want to welcome you. It's Suzette Speaks Live on your radio. Every Thursday, every Friday on Voice of the Caribbean. Y'all get ready. This is the soft launch. We're not official to April, but hey, we're here. We're loving it. We're bringing the vibes. Good company is in tow today. We have a friend of the show here today to inform us about some changes that are happening here in Florida. Y'all know the legislature is busy, right? The people who make the laws, the lawmakers. We have social media bans now for kids. We didn't know. Listen, we're going to update you real quick. I'm also going to talk a little bit about some changes that we're seeing when it comes to Black voters. We got to know what's going on, y'all. It's early, but trust me, it's campaign time. So if I understand Wagwan, and I have a very, very special gentleman who is here. He is the first Black chairman of the Broward Democratic Party. Can you believe it? It only took a few years, but he's here. He actually celebrates his Panamanian roots. Wagwan, let's go, let's go. And he's been doing an amazing job the last 3+ years while he's been serving the people of Broward County, because lots of people say they don't see the Democrats where the Democrats there, but he'll tell you what we've been doing. I said we. Hello, somebody. So listen up. We have some good information for you. Please stick and stay. If you're listening, tell a friend, right? We're I Radio 94.3 Miami, 102.1 Fort Lauderdale, 102.3 North Miami, Hollywood, all the way up in Orlando, 99.7 FM, as well as Vero Beach, Port St. Lucie, 105.3. So wherever you go, y'all, we with you. We with you. And I'm grateful that you're here with me. If you're watching on the Facebook side, Wagwan. If you are new to the show, welcome. This is your girl Suzette Speaks, an attorney, but not really an attorney part of radio still. Gonna do a little something different while we just chat and enjoy one another's company for this hour. We are going to talk about some current events, social media. I know y'all want to talk about Diddy. We're not doing Diddy today, okay? No Diddy. No, but I'm saying no Diddy. No Diddy today. We're gonna do Diddy tomorrow with my guest tomorrow. But in the meantime, I want you guys to call in. You know, we call-in show. You can let us know how you're feeling about the new laws that we're gonna talk about. 850-446-0562 on your radio. And I'm gonna have my guest basically introduce himself before we go any further because I know he's super excited to be here. And this is his first time on the show, but probably won't be his last. If you were new, please, hey, they saying no Diddy on on the Facebook when I use that term right now because tomorrow we're gonna do update. I didn't feel like there was enough to have the show about it today because it seemed like the same information that everybody's still talking about. Where is he? Where is he? What's going on with the investigation. But it's a serious matter, and I'm sure my guest tomorrow was gonna bring some heat when we talk about toxic relationships. That's what the subject gonna be tomorrow. That's gonna be a I don't know what to call it, Fun Friday. But Freaky Friday, I don't know what to call it, but Friday gonna be interesting with my guest tomorrow. But today we have an incredibly talented gentleman. I've watched him in this role take the Broward Democratic Party to another level. And because there are so many people that want to know what's going on and just don't, I thought it would be appropriate for him to kind of introduce himself for the first time here and just tell us a little bit more about what he has been doing in the trenches. When people say they don't see what's going on, baby, it's a lot of work being done. I don't know if you don't get the emails. I'm on the email list if you're not on the Facebook group, whatever. But they've been busy. So in this type of year, like 2024, where it's an election year, we have to be informed. So let me have him say hello. Good afternoon, my friend. How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you today?
Yes, voice. Oh yes, deep and illustrious. I love it. Tell the people who you are. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. My name is Rick Coy, and I am the president, renaming my titles, the chair of the Broward Democratic Party. We are the local arm of the Democratic National Committee. Most people tend to know that because when you think about the Democratic Party, we're the local one. We fall under the Florida Democratic Party, who also falls under the national level. But we're the ones here in the greater Fort Lauderdale area, and we're out here trying to make a lot of change. And I'm happy to be here, and we're happy to be serving the community.
I love it. Well, Rick, I know him personally, so in full disclosure, I've been watching him up close, so it's easy for me to say what you do. But what do you do as chair?
So as chair, I am the CEO, so to speak, of the Broward Democratic Party, and we are really a volunteer organization. Most people, when they think of the Democratic Party or the Republican Party or whomever, they think of this big faceless entity. But we are a volunteer organization. We're a grassroots organization, and our primary job is to elect Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm clearly biased, and while I am a member of other organizations, but my role with the Democratic Party is to organize as many Democrats as possible, to elect Democrats up and down the ballot, and educate voters as to why they should be electing Democrats and not just blindly going to the ballot box.
Okay, well, you said a mouthful there, and I know that keeps you very busy. And you're on your day job. Tell them what you do.
On my day job, I am in 8th grade. Teacher, God bless it. We been with Broward Schools since 2008.
Wow.
And most of those years, I've been teaching 8th graders United States history, and it's tough teaching history in Florida right now as a black man. We won't even get started on that. But that's my day job.
Yeah, so he's a teacher by day, Superman, Democratic chair by night. And yet, guys, as he said, this is volunteer work he does. And I'm not even going to ask how many hours a week you clock doing it, but to organize, as he said, the efforts of the Democrats in Broward is not an easy job. So how did you get involved? As I said, you're the first black man to hold this position in Broward County, in a county like Broward, which is majority minority, if you would still call it some minority. But why did you get involved?
Somewhat by accident. Now, I did major in political science in college, but I moved to Florida to find work, really. And because I'm a student of history and I follow politics, I wanted to be involved. I watched the presidential election in 2000, Detroit, actually. And once I moved to Florida, I was like, now that I'm here, I have to do something to make sure that Barack Obama, because right now we're in 2008, make sure that this man is elected president and they don't try to steal this thing. That's what motivated me really to kind of get, more hands-on.
Well, let me pause you there because we have some younger listeners. I'm sure we have some, mature listeners that know about the year 2000, Bush v. Gore. But in case we have younger listeners, that was a time where the election was razor close. George Bush versus Al Gore, and it was decided in Florida by hanging chads. I'll let you Google that. So anyway, so it was like we held our breath, and the Supreme Court decided we're not going to go back to the whole history, but nonetheless, so you were motivated from then. I paid attention then as well, and then of course the election of Barack Obama motivated a lot of people who had not been involved in the process to get out and vote and to volunteer and all those good things.
Yes.
So you are from Detroit, what? But you have Caribbean roots. Talk about that a little bit.
So my dad actually grew up in Belize.
Oh, it's Belize.
Yes, Belize.
I'm giving you Panama.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all good. It's all good.
All right, shout out to my Belizeans. All right, all the Central Americans, we love y'all. You're part of the Caribbean family.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I always put you in Panama. I don't know why, because there's a lot of Jamaicans that migrated there to work on the canal, and I actually have family and distant cousins in Panama. So okay, Belizeans in the building. Let's go. So what is that? Roatan and all my Garufuna and all those folks that we love. One love to my Afro parents, and so. You come now to this position after getting involved in your city. No one just jumps to chair. Give us a short version of how you got to become chair of the Broward Democratic Party.
Well, after the campaign, the successful campaign of President Obama, I sought out the Broward Young Democrats, and I had been meaning to go there for 2 years, and just never made my way there until late 2008, early 2009, and within 2 or 3 months of that, I was the secretary of Young Dems, and within a year and a half of that, I was president.
So you're one of those people. I can relate to Rick terribly, where you go to a meeting and the next thing you know, you're president of the organization. That has happened to me a couple times. I wish it hadn't, but I know that anointing. Okay, praise God. Where you just, there are people that like to volunteer, nothing wrong with that.
Right.
And then there's people who also are very, very involved and, just kind of exude and do the work of leadership. So when you get to that point, a lot of people are going to reach out to you and say, all right, well, since you seem to be so into it, how about you take over? I know those conversations, Rick. So you started Sunrise. Also, you served in Sunrise as well?
So I was the president of the Greater Sunrise Democratic Club, which we co-founded in, let's say 2015. And I was an area leader at that time, which really means that I think at that time, we may have had 19 areas. I was over Democratic voter outreach for Sunrise and Plantation.
So that
two cities together.
Getting the votes out when it's time to vote.
Correct.
And all that good stuff and looking for volunteers. They're asking me online. You guys can call in if you have questions for the Broward County Democrats. Chairman, Mr. Rick Hoy is in the building. 850-446-0562 right here, live and direct on the Suzette Speaks show on INI Radio, Voice of the Caribbean. So he's talking about his journey into becoming the chair, the first Black person to hold the chairperson's seat of the Broward Democratic Party. So working up the ladder from Young Dems to the Sunrise Plantation Dems area leader and the Greater Sunrise Democratic Club to getting involved with the whole of Broward. So there's one group, but there are a lot of small groups. Kind of explain if people are overwhelmed by it. I see you online. Thank you for your questions. Hello, Ebony online says, Mr. Rick, is your group looking for workers campaigning? Okay, we'll get to that, Ebony. Thank you. I see you online. But talk about the structure, because if people say, hey, I want, like Ebony online saying, I want to get involved, what is that like? Do they come to a meeting every day? Do they go to an office? What do they do?
Good question. So we try to have a little something for everybody. based on their interest and their availability. So we have what's called Democratic clubs. We have about 36 of those
In Broward.
in Broward.
Only that's just Broward.
Just
Wow,
Broward.
wow. So they have that all over. If you're in Palm Beach, if you're in Miami, listen, if you're in Hollywood, wherever you are,
Yes,
this is the same thing. Tons of clubs around the place.
Mhm.
Okay.
absolutely. And then
What do those clubs do?
those clubs organize. They are the grassroots and the most basic level groups that we have geographically. We have people that are called precinct committee persons,
Mhm.
and the job of a precinct committee person is to organize the people in their precinct. So if you live in, you know, M14 in Sunrise,
Mhm.
your job is to be the liaison,
The go-to person.
the go-to person, the educator
Right.
of all the Democrats in that voting precinct.
So it's like the neighbors helping neighbors kind of model.
Pretty much, you're like the block captain.
Okay,
Yeah.
so everybody who needs to know anything about this, you get involved. So locally, guys, you can Google this, or how do you find this?
We're on so if you go to browarddemocrats.org, we have our page which shows our party, who we are, and we have a list of all of the clubs and caucuses.
Mhm.
And what I mean by caucus, so you have your Democratic clubs, and then you have your caucuses by that. So we have a Caribbean caucus, we have a Black caucus, we have a Jewish caucus, a Muslim caucus, and so forth.
So
right?
like special interest groups
Yes.
that meet together around a certain issue.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Mhm.
You know, we have a labor caucus. We're working on an educators caucus. You know, and like I said, we try to have something for everybody. We have a veterans caucus, right?
Senior caucus. I
We
know.
have a very
Active.
dynamic
Yes.
seniors caucus. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
You know,
So
yeah.
issues around those particular caucus groups is what
Mhm.
they advocate for, like issues that affect, Medicaid, Medicare, for example, for seniors,
That's
and
right.
making sure they advocate within the party
Mhm.
to get legislation passed or support for candidates who support the type of issues that they are working on. It
That's
sounds like.
exactly it.
So you're chair now, three plus years.
Yes.
So what has that been like?
Interesting. It's been interesting and it's been busy, but it's good because you know, activism is in my blood.
Yeah.
You know, my activists in my family, and you know that kind of trickles down. So
Talk about grandma. I know grandma, but
yeah,
talk about grandma.
my grandmother was a school teacher too, also in Mississippi. She's from Mississippi,
Mhm.
and you know she was really good about supporting the NAACP, and
Mhm.
you know, and she got her degree from Jackson State University, and you know, she really instilled some good hardcore stand up for yourself principles.
Fantastic. So, and that passed down clearly.
No doubt.
So, as chair, I know there are monthly meetings of the Broward Democrats, and what
Yes.
else do you do? Tell me what you do in that role.
So we have meetings every third Tuesday, uh, and we're currently meeting in Lauderdale Lakes, although we try to move around the county
Mhm.
to make sure that everyone is included regionally, at least sometimes, right? But every third Tuesday at 7 p.m., we have our monthly meetings where we have guest speakers, and you know, we have elected officials, candidates, people who are driving different initiatives, ballot initiatives, and talk about things at all levels of government, right? And advocacy issues. And we just come together, we answer questions, and we try to provide a service. And
Yeah, yeah. So you are a part of a board. You run a board. How many
Yes.
people on your board?
There are 8 of us.
So there's 8 people on your board that try to coordinate efforts among all of the Democrats in Broward County, and
Yes.
you meet monthly.
Yes.
And anybody can come to those meetings, or they?
They're open to the public, but you know,
Yeah.
we obviously prefer Democrats and people who are interested in the Democratic Party.
Obviously, yes,
platform,
yes.
yeah.
And then you can also get involved on a more local level, and it
Yes.
sounds like through the caucuses
Yes.
and clubs. So
Exactly.
you guys want information on where to go to get involved and to how to connect with Democrats. You can go to say it again, BrowardDemocrats.org.
Yes, correct.
BrowardDemocrats.org. So I want to talk a little bit about. Let's do a little bit of a briefing on what the major. Well, let's just do your top takeaway from the session. Lawmakers in Florida meet every spring. If you don't know, It's a few weeks supposed to be, but sometimes the governor calls the House of Representatives and the state Senate back to Tallahassee for special sessions. But normally it's a 60-day session. It just concluded about a week ago, where 120 members of the Florida House of Representatives and 40 members of the Florida State Senate came together and they write laws. Now, the only job they're supposed to do, according to the Constitution, or one of the main jobs, is to pass the state budget. But on top of that, they have the prerogative to pass laws. So there was some interesting laws y'all passed in Florida. Why are we so much I don't know, the bellwether? I don't know if it's bellwether, or sometimes the canary in the coal mine for issues. But what was the biggest, I guess, there's so many different laws that came into play this session. What were you paying attention to? Was there any major legal change that came across your desk?
Well, there will be some changes to the vote by mail system, which has evolved, I'd say, over the last 3 or 4 sessions, really. It's gotten more restrictive each time. I'm not really that impressed with this legislature or this governor because more than some of the things that came down this session, I'm more disappointed in things that were not addressed. Affordable housing was not properly addressed. Insurance reform was not properly addressed, which is important because last session they had a special session
about insurance, right? And it's still not.
And nothing came out of it. And then we had another opportunity this year, and we passed up again.
Yeah.
And people are hurting, and the real issues are still not being touched on. We have this bill that was just signed into law to keep homeless people from sleeping in front of buildings. Like,
we talked about it on the show last week.
That's the best we can do.
Right.
Forget all the issues that
unlawful camping is the main issue apparently for the Florida legislature.
Right. Yeah. Forget the reason why a person's homeless.
Exactly.
And there are a bunch of reasons, but so that's just my disappointment. We pass a lot of half measures and truly grandstanding things, but we don't ever get to the root of the problem here. The Democrats try, but
Hey, we're outnumbered in the state legislature as of right now, but a change is coming, y'all. If you have questions for Mr. Rick Hoy, the chairman of the Broward Democratic Party, you can call 850-446-0562, 850-446-0562. So I'll tell you what I paid attention to. So all the headlines have been about Florida changing the ability for minors, for kids to have social media. That was a big headline. And if you guys did not hear, basically the governor on Monday signed into legislation a bill, I think it was like HB 5 or something like this, who now is law, which prohibits children under 16. At first, they were trying to do it under 16. That was the first measure that was brought forward. The governor didn't like it. The compromise was now children under 13 and children 14 and 15 have to get parental permission to have a social media account. Now, this does not go into effect until 2025. Once again, this is not current law, but it was signed this year to go into effect in 2025. So there's a lot of dust up around this, and of course, you have advocates who, honestly, Rick, what I've noticed is I haven't heard a lot of backlash. Like at first, I thought people were going to be in the streets. How dare him take away our kids' rights to be on social media? But then again, I thought maybe there's a lot of parents that agree with it because social media has taken over our kids' minds. We know that there's evidence-based research that mental health of young people is affected tremendously, and that the apps are addictive, and that if you are not able to regulate this early in your household, it becomes a big war, and poor parents are stuck with this pariah in the children's hands that they have to try to regulate. So here we are now. The governor at first, again, sounded like he didn't want to sign it, went ahead and signed it. It may be subject to some lawsuits. Maybe there be people that disagree and want their kids to have it, or maybe based on First Amendment freedom of speech grounds, they might go ahead and file lawsuits to overturn it. But what were your thoughts about this social media ban for kids that was signed by Governor DeSantis?
Well, we still have to see, but I think the lack of backlash at this moment,
Mhm.
it's probably because most parents do acknowledge that social media is getting out of control. And remember, social media is dangerous for children too, right? You have sexual predators, you have cyberbullying, you have so many things that happen on social media have negative impact. So that's probably why you don't hear more about it, because this is how they call it, the free state of Florida, where you know
Free when it want to be,
free
baby.
when it want to be, right? But that's my feeling. You know, it affects your school grades, your mental health, your physical health, and and that's probably why you don't see more pushback. Is because generally parents and people in the community do agree that it needs to be reined in to some point.
Yeah, I want to hear some callers, y'all. If you were listening, whether you're a parent or not, do you agree with the bill that the governor just signed? You can call us at 850-446-0562. That's INI Radio, Voice of the Caribbean, 850-446-0562. I'd love to hear your opinion if you're listening. Do you agree with the governor's new ban, I should say the legislature's ban, on social media for kids? I will say that it was a bipartisan effort. Michelle Goolsby, Rainer Goolsby from Tampa, a Democrat, as well as a Republican on the other side, came together and sponsored this bill. And she was saying that because as an adult, she has faced cyberbullying. She thought it was something that needed to be passed. And hey, now it's a part of the body of laws here in Florida that we must adhere to. Again, it does not go into effect but until 2025, but it's something that we need to be thinking about. And of course, social media companies will be also thinking about how they're going to enforce it. I see you online. Thank you for being here. If you guys are watching me on my YouTube show, y'all can follow me on all platforms at Suzette Speaks. That's 1Z, 2T's at Suzette Speaks on YouTube, on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, anywhere you go. I also have an event coming up, y'all. I want to tell you about April 24th. It's called Politicking. If you like social networking, or if you know you need to get out and do the social networking, meet new people, professionals, like-minded individuals who want to build community. Because sometimes I feel like we're so isolated in here in South Florida. We don't know enough for our neighbors, and we feel like we don't belong. The way to feel that feeling and make friends is to get out there and network. So Politicking, my event, social networking series. The next one will be April 24th. Pembroke Pines at the Bahama Breeze. It's free. You could just RSVP on Eventbrite, look up Politicking, or look up Suzette Speaks on Eventbrite. You can join us on April 24th, 5:30 to 8:30 for a networking event with our local business folks, our political leaders, and people like you who are professionals who are looking to connect. So I hope you guys will check it out. We have a lot more with Rick Hoy. Right after this, this is the Broward Democratic Party chairman. He's been at this job 3+ years now. We're going to talk about Black voters, the importance of Black voters and Black voter outreach after this break, y'all. Stay tuned. It is INI Radio, Voice of the Caribbean, 94.3 Miami, 101.1 Fort Lauderdale, 102.3 North Miami, Hollywood, all the way in Orlando, 99.7 FM, and in Vero Beach, Port St. Lucie, 105.3 FM. Stick and stay. This is your 24/7 Caribbean radio station. Tell a friend and tell a friend. Suzette Speaks live on the radio. Stay tuned for more after this. You can hear me.
So wait, this
Just keep like a fist length. Yeah. So you don't want to be spitting on it, but you want to be like a little bit. But he's doing great. I'm so proud. You want a bottle of water?
Yes.
Hold on. Let me see if I have one that's not open. Hold on.
Okay.
Because I start these and stop them.
I'll do that.
I thought I brought an extra one. 1 second. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. I know I had a little one. I wasn't open. Enjoying the show, y'all? I hope so. That was perfect, Rick. And I'm sorry you got lost, bro.
It took me around the corner.
Yeah, me too. When I first came, I was behind the Taco Bell.
So we don't
And I
have-
was like, what I'm doing behind the Taco Bell? I don't have a water that's not open. I had one, bro. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I had a half one. Let me give you a little breeze.
Yeah, yes. Well, it's a problem inside the studio.
Yeah.
Because the equipment.
It's hot in
right,
here, so I was like, let the equipment heats us up.
Yeah.
Bro, I did bring an extra one, but then I started drinking it. My bad. And we got questions from our YouTubers. In Florida, you are being punished for being homeless, for there being for the passed a bill that pushed you into homelessness. Is that bad? Jackson State in the building. What are your thoughts about DEI before the billions? How are you in Florida? Hey, Maurice, how are you? Bondell says it's a distraction for the failure of Republicans legislature and the evil of your governor Ron DeSantis and the law that scapegoats. Yes. Appreciate you before the billions. Thank you. Hey, Andre Terry. Good to see everybody. Thanks for watching. This is the soft launch of my new FM radio show, Miami, Fort Lauderdale Stand Up. It's on Voice of the Caribbean, South Florida's #1 Caribbean radio show and radio station. So that's 102.1 Fort Lauderdale, 94.3 Miami, 102.3 in Hollywood, North Miami, Vero Beach. I gotta memorize. 105.3 and in Orlando, 99.7 FM every Thursday and every Friday. I'll be live on the radio, and you can also listen online. But it'll be 1 to 2 p.m. Special guests, hot topics, news of the day, and interesting social media trends, all that good stuff. So I'm excited. So join me each and every Thursday and Friday, y'all. Tell a friend, and please, thank you, Darren. Please like, comment, and share. I appreciate you guys watching. Special guest today, Rick Hoy. He is the Democratic Party of Broward County chairman, right? Working hard to get Democrats elected. And we're talking about Black voter outreach next. So leave your questions in the chat.
The U.S. Transport Secretary is meeting shipping operators to discuss the impact of the Baltimore Bridge collapse.
All right, you're doing great. So we're going to talk about efforts for Black voters. Or do you know numbers exactly for Black voters? Okay.
We go straight to you,
Hey everybody, it's Suzette Speaks live on the radio station here on INI Radio, Voice of the Caribbean, each and every Thursday and Friday, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. live. This is my new talk show, y'all. I'm excited. This is the soft launch. I'm bringing in people, newsmakers, community leaders, politicians, business folks, people who are involved in the community to let you know what's really happening, right? We following the money. We're educating the people, having a little fun too. It's Thursday. I hope you're enjoying your lunch hour. I hope you're enjoying yourself. If you're listening in your car, if you're listening at work, tell a friend to tell a friend. Suzette Speaks is on. You can follow me on all platforms. Suzette, 1Z, 2T, Speaks with an S. And I'm happy to be here as a part of the Voice of the Caribbean INI family. We're here today with a very, very important person who has been leading in the community here in Broward County, South Florida Stand Up. His name is Mr. Rick Hoy. He's the chairman of the Broward County Democratic Party. He's the first Black person to ever lead the Broward County Democrats, right? This is the county-wide group that helps to, as he pointed out, elect Broward Democrats and push forward the agenda of Democrats for the county. So he's talking a little bit about how he got involved. He's also telling us more about Black voters and the importance of Black voters. If you're watching online, you can call us if you have questions, 850-446-0562. Voice of the Caribbean. Get you right in touch, 850-446-0562. Want to know what you think about some of the latest laws as we talked about. We hear now that the governor has signed the social media ban for minors. If you agree or disagree, we'd love to hear what you have to say. I want to know where the people at, because it's been kind of quiet. I thought there was going to be an uproar. Nothing is being said, not very forcefully, and in the numbers that I thought it might be, because this is such a large change. Right now, it's not the law. It will be the law in 2025. But again, anybody under 13 will not be allowed to have social media in Florida if this law stands. and goes into effect like it's supposed to. And 14 and 15-year-olds will need parental permission to be a part of some of these platforms. So it is one of the most aggressive laws in this whole entire United States. There's a couple of other states that are following suit, but we'll see if it will stand, if there are any, in fact, lawsuits that are filed to try to overturn it. But in the meantime, I want to go back to Mr. Rickroy. Mr. Rickroy, how are you?
Doing all right. Thank you very much.
I'm so happy that you're here and educating the folks about what you're doing as the chair, and that's a whole. I can't even explain it. It's a what you call it? They say bite an elephant one bite at a time. This is a whole different animal to be chair of the Broward County Dems. It is something that is again a very rigorous position that you've been doing for 3+ years now. We were elected by your fellow Democrats to serve, and you help to oversee. About how many Democrats do you think are in Broward? I don't even know the number.
We have over 600,000 in Broward, just here in Broward, and we actually have the bluest county in Florida.
In the entire state, blue meaning Democrat, red meaning
Yes.
Republican, and it's like the blue. What kind of sapphire blue? I don't know what kind of blue it is.
Blue.
It's very
Trying to
blue.
make it deep blue.
So within the state, what role does Broward County play when it comes to voter turnout?
Quite often, it hinges on our turnout.
Mm.
Quite frankly, we deliver the margins of victory for other counties statewide. We delivered triple digit in the hundreds, over 100,000 vote margin for both Charlie Crist and Lauderdale, for example, in the last cycle.
Let me break down what that means. So what people don't really understand is when it comes to elections in Florida, even though, in my opinion, I can just say they like to call it a red state. I don't think it's a red state.
It's not.
It's not. It's purple if you want to call it that.
Mm.
But in a lot of these counties, when you see the map and it be red, 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 red all over the place, it's like 40% Democrats in those red places, 35% Democrats, sometimes even higher, 45%. It's just the Republicans are outvoting the Democrats because they have a slight majority because the districts got cut up that way. But that's okay. But a lot of blue is in those red, so-called red places. So what I want to point out is that when you think about like Ron DeSantis' election and things like this, it's just a slim majority of voters are actually voting, first of all. Or excuse me, I should say a minority of people actually get to the ballot box. So it doesn't take the 27 or however many million of people now in Florida. It's like a small group of like 1 million people deciding who's running things. So what I think you're saying is that we have enough voters just in Broward County alone to swing the entire state if they actually show up and vote.
There have been elections in recent years, and I can just go back to 2018. Andrew Gillum lost by roughly 30,000 votes.
Oh, don't hurt my feelings. Don't bring that up. That hurt me.
It hurt being part of that. It hurt being part of those recall efforts at that time too. And
so 30,000 votes. If there are 600,000 Democrats in Broward, trust me that if we're talking about turnout and turnout as how we can influence how the state is going, if we don't like the way the state is going, guys, I think, again, this idea that you sit on the sidelines and affect change is not true. It's only by showing up. That's why they work so hard to make sure that they are suppressing the vote, cutting the hours, making sure. And you were talking about the changes of vote by mail. How do people get to, again, lots of people like to vote on election day, but a majority actually like to get it in the mail, their ballot. And so they can read it, look over it, and then send it back. Tell me about the vote by mail changes if you can.
So you have to register, excuse me, to vote by mail. You don't just automatically receive a mail-in ballot. And last cycle, the governor, Marshall, and the legislature obviously followed suit to purge everybody in the state of Florida from vote by mail. But let me talk about the significance of why, that's important. Republicans have a much more well-funded machine than we do, for example, right? Where they pump, tens of millions of dollars into election activities on a regular basis. and Democrats, being the working class party, don't have those kind of dollars to throw around.
Hmm.
But that's significant because not only do they have more money, but they also control the halls of power,
Right.
right? All three branches of the Tallahassee government. And that's significant because they also manipulate the process as we go. So our number one goal has been to inform and re-register people to vote by mail because who wants to be standing in line for an hour on election day, or who wants to go to even early voting
Hmm.
and stand in line for an hour or two when I have kids at home or I have to go to work
Yes, so
or
the
on
vote
lunch
by
break.
mail is actually critical to
Yes.
making sure that everybody who wants to vote can vote. And
Mhm.
again, some of those rules are changing. You can go to the Supervisor of Elections website wherever you live to get more information. And to order a vote by mail ballot is very easy. Go into the Supervisor of Elections for Miami-Dade, Supervisor of Elections for Broward County, Palm Beach, wherever you live. Yes, let's see if we're gonna take a call, or if you want to call in, please 850-446-0562. I'm gonna talk about specifically, sir, Black voter outreach, because I think sometimes, again, we who know or read off our follow the news and things kind of know what's happening, but there's a lot of people, as you say, they working, taking care of their families and trying to just make ends meet, so they don't know what's going on. So what are you doing to try to outreach to Black voters throughout this county to make sure they understand who they should be voting for or what the issues are and how voting will affect them?
So one of my roles is a vice chair for the Florida Democratic Party of Black Voter Outreach, which means that I've been tasked with not only driving up Black voter turnout in Broward, but really across the state.
Hmm.
And Democrats can't win statewide without Black voters showing up in large numbers.
Let's go.
We make up about a third of the Democratic Party electorate.
Hmm.
And even on a national level, for those that follow, Joe Biden didn't really get his bump until Leader Clyburn in South Carolina got him through that primary there. And
Jim Clyburn.
yes, he's an amazing
Thank
man.
Black people. Clap.
Yes, yes, he is an
I need to
amazing.
get to a soundboard with a little clap. We have any clap hands? Give us some clap hands or something like this, because that's huge. And that
Mhm.
that role that we're playing, again, I think there's kind of like kind of a, I don't know if it's purposeful. I'm not really big on uh, um, conspiracy theories, but there's a lot of social media that is being fed to, young people, minority people, folks to tell them, oh my gosh, you don't want to be a part of the system. It's so corrupt. Everything is corrupt. You don't want to vote. And it's literally the opposite so that you get what you want.
Yeah.
So when you talk about how important it is, especially in Florida, 1 out of 3 Democrats is Black in Florida. So we have an outsized role when it comes to pushing agendas and policies that we want to see. So as far as outreach, actually, we have a caller. Let's get a caller in. Hey, come through. This is the Suzette Speak Show. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Hey, before the billions, how are you? Welcome. Go ahead. Thank you. William Before the Billions is also a YouTuber like myself. Shout out to him, calling all the way from ATL, shouting. And he has a question for Rick about diversity and inclusion. What do you think about the diversity and inclusion attack that's going on in the state of Florida?
Thank you for that question. I it infuriates me. It infuriates me because they understand exactly what they're doing. Especially being a teacher, right? Like I teach in a Title I school that's a majority minority. It's actually even a majority Black school, here in Broward, and they know what they're doing. You have companies that do their best um, to include policies and practices that
Are inclusive.
are inclusive and acknowledge that there are differences in that there are reasons why some groups get to where they are and others don't.
Right.
You know, and now this woke label that's been put on everything, it's being put in place to water it down. Look no further than the the uh, the Florida Department of Education curriculum that addresses slavery, for example, right? Where they now they basically try to water it down to like a building trade or something like
Oh
that.
my Jesus.
You know,
Listen, I think
it's
thank you.
disgusting.
Yeah, thank you for the question before the billions, because I think that's something that is actually really, uh, as you say, critical and systematic. So if we are not electing the people that can push the agenda to where we want it to be, right? The principles and stand for the principles that we as a community and we as individuals want to see pushed to the fore, pushed to the front, then there's going to be people, like I said, if you sit on the sideline, there's people who are going to show up, right? MAGA is going to show up every time, right? They're going to tell you to stay home and your vote doesn't count. And then they're going to show up and they continue to build numbers in the halls of power. So before the billions, I appreciate you. Can we find you online? He signed off, but you can find before the billions. And we have another caller. Oh my goodness, come through 850-446-0562. Get you right in touch. Suzette Speaks live every Thursday and Friday 1 to 2. Good afternoon. Welcome. Yes.
Join us. So we can say we're going to vote for Democrat.
What does the Democratic Party offer so that we can say we're going to vote for Democrats?
It's a great question. One of the things that we've been doing is educating, the public on all the great things that President Biden has done and is trying to do for Democrats, especially for Black voters. For example, there's now a program in place where farmers and descendants of Black farmers are actually receiving payments, which is probably the closest thing to reparations that you can probably think of in our history, right? Because of the USDA's discrimination of Black farmers in the contracts, or the differences in wages and what they paid for their products, for example, right?
We talked a lot about, and I think the loan forgiveness is the number one thing that people, even though everybody wanted it across the board, the Supreme Court guys, who again, majority now 6-3 is conservative, 3 of which were appointed by former President Mr. Trump. Those justices, again, that's why elections matter, because presidents pick Supreme Court justices. Presidents also pick federal courts. And to add to the answer of the question from the caller, what have Democrats done? One thing I enjoy and I look to the Biden administration for is diversifying the bench.
Right.
Federal judges, people who serve on the federal court, are lifetime appointments. And if you were not aware, President Biden has approved or nominated and approved more federal judges, Black women judges in specific, than any other president. More than half of the Black women who are serving as judge right now have been appointed by President Biden. So those are lifetime. Remember that when things go to trial or our cases are tried, they go through the federal judges first, then the appellates, the middle line of court system, of our court system, and then to the Supreme Court. So who's on that bench matters. And again, this president, if you guys want to go to also whitehouse.gov, there's a specific section there as to what this administration has done when it comes to serving as Black constituents. And I don't think a lot of people know, but we could talk about laws. Are there any other things you want to add to that answer?
Well, there are things such as, and just going back to student loans for a moment, that's a huge thing.
Absolutely.
That disproportionately impacts minorities, especially Black minorities. I'm happy to say that I've been a recipient of not loan forgiveness, but it's a program that allows me to go back to school. So just a quick tidbit. I'm a doctoral student. Took some time away because I got sick a few years ago, used my tuition money to pay for some health things, but I am now eligible to get loans again,
Mhm.
in spite of the fact that that I missed X amount of
Of payments,
payments over
yeah.
the past few years
Yeah.
through Biden's Fresh Start program.
Wow.
That's not a small thing. Uh, when you look at the numbers of wages and opportunities for Black citizens, it's actually increasing under the president. But unfortunately, here in Florida, there are programs. There's a lot of funding that doesn't make its way here because the Republican legislature is rejecting that money. Um,
We have to do a whole different show on that, but
oh
people
yeah,
need to understand this, that a lot of times bills and money from the federal government are approved, but your state governor has to accept that money.
mhm,
And that happens a lot where there's money allocated by the federal government for programs such as housing, such as food assistance, summer programs when it comes to the summer school lunches, all kinds of things that can be available in Florida, Medicaid expansion, Medicare, but our governor can choose to reject it.
mhm,
So sometimes you're wondering, what have they done? You have to think about who has blocked the funding
that's right.
on top of that, because it doesn't just come, they have to accept it.
Mhm.
And when there are governors in place that don't have the same principles in alignment with the national government, they can reject the funds and send them back to DC, and the people never get any help.
Or they cherry pick from it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they help a few people, or they help certain people, but they do not accept the federal funding. So you guys have to understand that's another. We're gonna do a show on how that works. I want to ask you again about how people can connect, because I think I see you online. Thank you for watching Ace Butterfly. I see you before the billions, and those watching on the Facebook platforms. Thank you so much. This is I Radio. Suzette Speaks live every Thursday and Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. And I'm grateful to have you call in 850-446-0562, 850-446-0562. If you want to get involved in the discussion, I want to ask you more about the outreach, because I know where to find you, but I know there's so many people who are thinking now, oh, maybe I do want to volunteer, or how do I get information about my new citizenship or whatever is going on? How do I vote? How do I register? How do you make sure you're reaching the people where they are?
So, in addition to being able to sign up on our website, which is BrowardDemocrats.org, you can also. So, what we've been doing is going into the community with our open house series, which means that the Broward Democratic Party is going into neighborhoods to speak to the Democrats, rank and file Democrats, not party leadership, not the people who are the insiders, but the rank and file voters who don't have the everyday access um, to information or to party leaders or elected officials. And it's our way of educating the voters and taking questions from the voters on why they should vote, how to vote. We're still, again, telling people that they have to re-enroll to vote by mail. They don't know they got kicked off.
Wow.
That alone has been an issue. We had 87,000 voters just here in Broward, not even for the vote by mail, but just 87,000 voters who have been moved from active to inactive because they haven't always participated.
Let me break that down just a little bit more,
Yes.
because again, what Rick is referring to, if you know some of the laws that have changed and impacted the vote by mail, basically what happened is the legislature passed a law, right? The state house and the House of Representatives and the state Senate passed a law, both sides. Then it went to the governor's desk, he signed it, that allowed for people who have not voted in the last two presidential elections, or who have not been active as far as a voter, to be removed and placed on an inactive voting list. So you might think you registered when you were 17, 18, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. But if you have not been voting, you quite possibly have to check with your supervisor of elections. In the state of Florida, you can be now put by law in an inactive status. So there are people, as he said in Broward, 87,000 of us who didn't know, because you didn't vote the last two times, the last two cycles, two or more, they can move you to inactive. And that might pose a problem when you go to vote, if you decide to vote. So things like this, people don't know. As he's saying, he's going around open houses, are basically neighborhood meetups.
Basically, yes.
Going to meet Democrats, invite them free of charge to come sit down and chat with you. It sounds like you're in different areas all across the county doing this.
Yeah, we serve food, we talk, we bring in elected officials and candidates, but it's really more geared toward us listening to excuse me, the participants, and we always want to know what brought you here today. You know, people have different motivations for coming to those meetings, but a lot of people, we're finding that a lot of people are scared of what a second Donald Trump term would look like. You know, they're fearful. They're fearful because you know, Republicans want to legislate a woman's body, the right to choose in their health care, right? Voter suppression. You know, even this vote by mail situation is voter suppression. The fact that you get moved from an active to an inactive list because you choose to sit out a couple cycles, it's not always because you don't care. Sometimes it's just because you don't like who your choices are. And this is a democracy, right? You should be able to vote for who you want for. And that should never be taken, that right should never be taken away from you.
So as we kind of get to know Mr. Ricoy, and this won't be the last time he's on here, y'all. We want to bring the best folks with the most accurate information to you, especially here on the Suzette Speaks Show, I&I Radio, the Voice of the Caribbean, so that you understand what's going on. As a leader in Broward County, I want to give you some time to give us your final takeaways today. You've been so informative, Mr. Ricoy. I really enjoy having you here. What are final takeaways for people who want to get involved, or Democrats who are sitting on the sidelines like, I'm tired of y'all. You only come around during election time. We don't see you. You're clearly doing a lot of work. You've raised a ton of money to send out flyers, to make phone calls, to do all the kind. How much money have you raised since you've been chair?
Since I've been chair, nearly $1 million.
So that's going to be spent back on the community to get the community engaged in the election process. What are your takeaways?
The biggest takeaway is to get involved, because to either become a volunteer or just learn how you can vote. www.browarddemocrats.org. My number is 313-910-4035, and that's my personal number. And you can also email me at chair@browarddemocrats.org, and I'd be happy to meet with you all one-on-one or in groups.
So listen, it's not that nothing's going on. You may not know what's going on, but he's telling you how to get right in touch with the Broward Democratic Party. You want to volunteer? You have an office as well. Where's your office located?
We have an office in Plantation on Sunrise Boulevard, Suite 203.
And you can go up there if you want to make phone calls, if you want to mail out letters, if you want to put out flyers, anything.
8320 West Sunrise Boulevard, Suite 203. That's where we are. We're located. Sunrise Boulevard and University.
So in the center of the county, you guys, it's always amazing to hear what's going on. And sometimes it's just the fact that we are not aware. Yeah. The Democrats are hard at work under this leadership. Congratulations, sir. You've been amazing at
Congratulations on the show also.
Thank you. Thank you for coming by. And I appreciate all of you listening out there and watching me. Hit the like button if you're watching on Suzette Speaks YouTube or on the Facebook side. I want to recognize helping me out today, Mr. Humble Lion. Thank you always for having my back. Shout out to Rick Hoy, chairman of the Broward Democratic Party. And I want to invite you one more time. We are going to do this live and direct, live and in color at Politicking. I do a social series, you guys, where I invite professionals to come together to network and to create community. That will be coming up on Wednesday, April 24th in Pembroke Pines. This time we're moving around as well. And I'll be having some co-hosts you might know, Senator Chevron Jones. I have a real estate broker, Rose B. Thompson. Thank you to Michelle at Mortgage Broker. Michelle, I can't think of her last name, Holsang, mortgage broker, and Del Brown, attorney. Thank you so much, Harold Pryor, who will also be there as a co-host of mine, alongside Dr. Tasha Russell, and several others. We thank you so much for listening. Join us next week, or excuse me, join us tomorrow. We have a fantastic show lined up, 1 to 2. Suzette Speaks signing off, you guys.
LPFM, Fort Lauderdale.
It's a wrap, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Yes, it goes by, but it was very informative. What do you think?
Oh, most definitely.
Very informative. We appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button, guys. See you tomorrow. Talking toxic relationships, domestic violence. Yeah, man. Oh,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you watching, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.